If we look at seismic activity magnitude 5.8 and larger, from 5 to 13 December, we see 4 seismic events, and we also see that the first scenario that I mentioned in the previous forecast pretty much applied. A 5.9 south of Java, Indonesia, that was early on the 6th, followed by a 5.8 also in Java early on the 8th, and then a 5.8 Philippine Islands region a day later on the 9th. And as you may recall, 8-9 December were considered critical, and the days following, because of the lunar peaks and the planetary geometry converging, especially here around the 9th. And also we had a full moon quadruple conjunction involving the Sun, Earth, Moon and Mars. A pretty rare convergence. We see the full moon and at the same time Sun, Earth, Mars conjunction. The same convergence also occurred on 27 July, 28 July 2018, and it was followed by a magnitude 6.4 earthquake on 28 July. But this time we only had borderline 6 seismic events, a 5.8 the Philippine Islands region following the quadruple conjunction. And then a magnitude 6 earthquake in Guerrero, Mexico. That was on the 11th. And this is always a bit of a question mark here. Do we see increased seismic activity a day or 2 days later following a convergence of critical planetary and lunar geometry as we see here on the 9th? In social media, we have new accounts on Twitter, educational and research information, and also on Telegram. You can find the links in the upper right on the website. In the coming week, we see 3 planetary conjunctions on the 19th, Sun, Mercury, Neptune, followed by Venus, Mercury, Mars on the 21st and Sun, Mercury, Jupiter on the 22nd. And I will cover that in detail in the next update because we have to see that in context, the planetary and also the lunar geometry that follows these 2 conjunctions. Looking at the SSGI graph for the coming week, we see a convergence of critical planetary geometry. These are dashed lines. This is right angle geometry on the 15th and 16th, and it has proven critical in the past. And we could see a higher 6, maybe even magnitude 7 seismic event following this planetary geometry and the lunar geometry that follows, the high lunar peak, 18 on the index, which makes the 17th, 18th probably most critical, but it could occur as early as the 16th. Again, in a worst case scenario, higher 6, maybe even magnitude 7. I have seen seismic events up to magnitude 7.4, even 7.6 with this kind of planetary geometry. They both involve Mercury and Venus. Venus is the purple line here and Mercury the red line, the dashed lines here, and we have them 2 times on the 15th and early on the 16th. And they both involve Neptune in this instance, and that can be critical. Of course, it depends very much on the condition of Earth's crust, whether or not we're going to have a single larger seismic event or a grouping or clustering of strong seismic events, low to mid 6 on the 16th, 17th, 18th. I think 17th, 18th will be most critical. Could be the 19th if it arrives late. Again, that's the question mark. There's always the uncertainty that we have. So let's see how this geometry is going to play out, how the seismic response will be. Then on the 19th, early 19th, we have Mercury, Sun, Neptune in a conjunction. That's this high red peak. And it is followed by some critical planetary geometry converging. These are typical semi-right angles, considered less critical, but we have a planetary conjunction preceding the lunar peak on the 20th. Then on the 21st, Venus and Mercury in a conjunction, that's with Mars, can be pretty critical, and it is followed on the 22nd with a Sun, Mercury, Jupiter conjunction. Overall, I think that the coming week is more critical than the previous week. In the worst case scenario, we could see 1 or 2 major seismic events following the critical planetary lunar geometry on the 16th, and also the planetary conjunction Sun, Mercury, Neptune, or rather Mercury, Sun, Neptune in that order, followed by a lunar peak and a convergence of some critical planetary geometry, the semi-right angles here, the dotted lines involving Mercury and Venus. The fact that they converge with a lunar peak, that makes it a bit more critical. And then we have a pretty critical conjunction on the 21st. Venus, Mercury, Mars shouldn't be underestimated. In a worst case scenario, we could see a major seismic event, but that could very well happen with the next lunar peak following the 2 planetary conjunctions on the 21st and 22nd. And again, I will cover that in the next update. Always check out the website for the latest forecast and the magnitude probability, and our social media channels where we post additional updates. Be safe, everyone. Until next time.